pretty well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, most people look at me and say, "Oh, Christian hipster."
Christian hipster.
I get it all the time.
He has a V-neck. He must be a Christian hipster.
guy.
I remember when V-necks were the sign that you were low rent.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Am I wearing a V-neck?
I still find V-necks to be a little bit shifty.
Ben, I'm not even doing it loud, Ben.
You got to stay back from it.
I can't.
It's you. See, here's the deal. So Mike's microphone cuts out every once in a while,
Man.
and he feels like he's talking at normal volume, but he's boisterously loud.
This is the softest I've spoken in years.
I was kind of. I thought maybe you were sick.
I feel like I'm giving late night advice. I don't know how to tone it down anymore.
So anyway, should be a pretty cool festival. We're going to be hanging out there. Nathaniel's going to be doing some art. He's going to be arting next to the
art.
He's going to be arting next to the thing. We're going to be talking to bands. We're going to be featuring. We're still waiting to see whether we can broadcast the thing live. But we're going to be picking up action as it happens.
That's still up in the air?
Yeah, we're not sure whether there's going to be an internet connection out there.
Okay.
So, but anyway, we're going to be.
That's why you got to get pumped.
That's why you got to get pumped. So I don't know. I'm excited. So it should be a pretty cool time. The weather's looking like it's going to cooperate. It's going to be a little hot. It was a little hot last year. So I don't know.
Last year was a little wet.
It was a little wet.
It was a lot wet.
Yep. That was fierce.
Yeah.
So
I quite enjoyed it.
Should be a good time. That's what we got. That's what we got going on.
I want to know more about the art. What do you mean? You have like a booth doing art, or like you're gonna juggle? So it's like painting.
Yes.
Will you
Spray
do
paint.
Face painting?
I don't know about face
Will
painting.
you paint my face?
Yes.
I don't want you to paint my face.
Why
That's pretty
not?
cool. You did that?
Yes.
I'm impressed.
I also did those over in the corner.
Yeah, they're actually pretty cool.
I can't see the ones in the corner.
Yeah.
That doesn't help me.
Oh.
All right, here we go. Let's
Sorry.
get it. Let's hit one of these. Let's hit one of our God is Imaginary. We missed this from last week. So to remind you, we're walking through the 50 proofs on GodIsImaginary.com. Proofs that God is imaginary. We've gone through the first 10 so far. God 10, fake God 0.
Yeah.
He's rocking it. But let's see where we're at. Here we go. Proof number 11 from this guy that God is imaginary. Notice that there is no scientific evidence. There is no scientific evidence indicating that God exists. We all know that. For example, God has never left any physical evidence of his existence on earth. None of Jesus' miracles left any physical evidence either. God has never spoken to modern man, for example, by taking over all the television stations and broadcasting a rational message to everyone. The resurrected Jesus has never appeared to anyone. The Bible we have is probably incorrect and is obviously the work of...
You wait, Dan. You just wait.
Hold on a minute. The Bible we have is provably incorrect and is obviously the work of primitive men rather than God. When we analyze prayer with statistics, we find no evidence that God is answering prayers. Huge, amazing atrocities like the Holocaust and AIDS occur without any response from God, and so on. Let's agree that there is no empirical evidence showing that God exists. If you think about it as a rational person, this lack of evidence is startling. There's not one bit of empirical evidence indicating that today's God, nor any other contemporary God, nor any God of the past exists. In addition, we know that if we had scientific proof of God's existence, we would talk about the science of God rather than the faith in God. If we had scientific proof of God's existence, the study of God would be a scientific endeavor rather than a theological one. If we had scientific proof of God's existence, all religious people would be aligning on the God that had been scientifically proven to exist. Instead, there are thousands of gods and religions. The reason for this lack of evidence is easy for any unbiased observer to see. The reason why there is no empirical evidence for God is because God is imaginary. Nathaniel, first thoughts.
Well, ain't that just a thing that he said? Well, I'm going to pass it over to Dan because he had the wild hands.
Solid work. All right, Dan, what are your thoughts?
I love your commentary.
Yeah, I wonder what keeps you up late at night in thought. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
it boggles the mind.
The top 10 on the YouTube does it.
I love bubblegum.
Ben has said some things to me lately. Dan?
Okay. I'm going to say this guy has to be even an embarrassment for atheists. I mean, aren't there Christian people out there when they speak, you're like going, you don't speak for us.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
You kind of embarrass me.
Like Nathaniel.
I wasn't going to mention any names. But he might do art.
Oh,
in the park.
Rhymes with Nathaniel.
This guy is not... Every statement he had there was like false.
Okay, now hold on. Take the fact that you're pulling your truth out of the Bible out of it. Is he still saying some things that aren't true?
So he's going with the assumption that every word in the Bible is just false, just because he doesn't believe it. that the historical, documented, factual information, like none of Jesus' miracles left any physical evidence. There's all kinds of outside of biblical evidence of saying, yeah, we saw this guy get healed.
There was they found something recent, like it's within the last couple years, referring to Jesus as a magician. Like it was some other culture that was referring to a man named Jesus in that time as a magician.
The crowds didn't come because he was a slick speaker, although he may have been. They came because they wanted to get healed. There were people getting healed. There were demons. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and it attracted crowds. I mean, there is no questioning that. It's not like some radical, wacky Bible guy who said, yeah, Jesus was cool and people came. It's because the word spread and people saw it. I mean, it's documented. It happened. Whether or not he believes he's the Messiah, that's one thing. Miracles happen. You just go through this. Jesus never appeared to anyone. At one time, he appeared to more than 500. Well documented. I mean, they all documented it. It wasn't,
Yeah, but the problem is, I think he's going to keep going back that we say well documented because it was in the Bible.
No, but it's not just in the Bible. Like that's what I'm saying. He's ignoring extra biblical resources that validate that. I can't think of any rational person that is debating the existence of Christ, nor what he said he was. Like the question is whether he's a liar or not whether he existed or not whether people believed that he was a rabble-rouser and a magician and a prophet or whatever.
That's true actually, because I mean it's not like Christians were the only one to ever read the Bible. Just like I read things that I don't necessarily believe in. I just read them. And so what type of process would that have to have gone vetted through? That regardless if you believe that Jesus is the Son of God, he did exist, provable. And the words that came out of his mouth can be documented in more than one source outside of the Bible.
Yeah. I mean, I do not believe in Mormonism, their doctrine, but I know Joseph Smith lived, and I know he did stuff, and I know there's a Mormon trail, and I know they were persecuted. I know that there's historical documented things that happened.
Yep.
Even though I don't believe what they teach.
That's true.
He's throwing all that out.
That's true. Like a knee-jerk response, which isn't, right? Like he's obviously thought this out, but it almost feels like a knee-jerk response, like you're overselling to try to prove an underpoint. Like you're saying stuff that's outrageous just to try to get people to to buy half into it.
Well, and he says that so we have the Bible we have is provably incorrect and is obviously the work of primitive men rather than God. And I thought the primitive men thing is interesting, and we talked about this a little bit with this guy's hubris, with the thought that like people that come prior to our culture are obviously primitive, but like he's picking out people that wrote the Bible specifically, because if you ask this intellectual type and say, was who do they look back at? Your Greek philosophers, your Socrates and your Plato, people who think that these are people whose ideas and thoughts and capabilities of thinking have stood the test of time, and we still refer to them this day. Okay, Socrates and Plato both lived around the 400 BC era. Okay, so 500 years prior to the dated books in the New Testament. So if you were to give those guys as examples, this same guy is not going to refer to them as primitive, but he's picking out the people that wrote this literature, this historical account as primitive simply because he thinks it's wrong, right? They are not good thinkers because I don't believe what they're saying is true, and that's how you discredit it. You just say that they're primitive. It's primitive man. They don't know what they're saying. But if you asked about guys who wrote 500 years prior to that point, he wouldn't make the same accusation.
Yeah, they're primitive compared to his outstanding literature on his website.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said, so let's hit this again. God has never spoken to modern man. For example, here's what I thought. This is a reasonable line of thought to me to say God has not spoken to modern man. Is there empirical proof that God has spoken to modern man? Can you see it physically? Outside of the actions of people that he has worked through, if you believe that he's doing that, okay, I might see that one. You know what I'm saying? I can't see someone speak, but you can't see evidence that I spoke to Nathaniel either.
Right.
Like if me and Nathaniel were speaking out in the other room, and some guy asked a day later and said, "Hey, did you and Nathaniel speak?" And I said, "Yeah, we did." And he said, "Show me evidence that you spoke."
Yeah.
What am I going to produce? It's not going to happen.
All you're going to do is produce Nathaniel, who's going to back up your story, and they're going to be you're brainwashed.
Which is the same.
You're brainwashed into Ben's way of explaining things.
He's trying to, he throws around the buzzword, science and so forth, but he's not coming at it from a scientific approach. He's very emotional in his writing.
Yeah.
He's like, see, it's not scientific. Like, oh yeah.
Well, and on that same example, so God, this is where I thought the first part was like, okay, you could rely on this. I think it's really weak, but you could say God has never spoken to modern man. But then he goes, for example, by taking over all the television stations and broadcasting a rational message to everyone. So this is weird. This is a cool insight into this guy's mind. He said, if I were God, I would take over TV.
Right.
Well, neither has science.
Yeah.
I would work in the constraints that of the technology that you guys have come up with. Instead of appearing simultaneously to everybody like I do because I'm a Lord of all, I would see if I could get on CBS and speak to others.
When we analyze prayer with statistics, we find no evidence that God is answering prayer. We talked about this one. Again, prayer remains his big thing, the thing that he brings up every time. Prayer is the harbinger, the issue that's causing him problems. So here we go. Huge, amazing atrocities like the Holocaust and AIDS occur without any response from God. Evidence? Now, that's like saying I don't exist because I did not respond to the Holocaust and AIDS.
Right.
Or he's not seen me respond. He doesn't know my response to the Holocaust and AIDS. Also implies that God has a responsibility or like that he owes us to respond to it in some way or another.
Yeah, like this is somebody putting their butt in the God chair. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I were God, I totally would have responded to this like this. Here's how I would have done it differently, right? And the benefit of being an omniscient God and all-knowing, how many times have you stuck your nose in something and went, dang it, I wish I wouldn't have stuck my nose in that thing, right? God has this forethought and is a completely knowledgeable in the situation, and frankly, said it was going to go down like this, right? If you continue to not follow my ways, and it's part of a fallen, sinful world, but like, here's the thing: you can't be mad at God for the consequences of an action when you benefit from the consequences of other actions, right? Like when I say, so look, AIDS was primarily spread, due to out of marriage sexual activity, right? That's true of all sexually transmitted diseases, right? Most of it occurred because of that, and so like God says, look, you don't obey the commands that I've given you. There's consequences of that, and then they showed up, right? But the same is true when you say, look, if you don't eat chocolate all the time and pour soda on your hair and live in the dumpster, other people might want to be around you. That's a logical consequence of not being a dirty skis, and so like when I benefit from consequences like stuff that can be determined and found, like gravity, and that the sun's going to come up every day, and that there's the time is going to pass, and we can measure and we can call it what it is, and mathematics and all those things, right? Those are consequences of logical thought that God has provided for us. But then when you look at the consequences of a logical action that's been taken, people go, oh, why did God not get involved? So it's really hard to sit in the God chair and start pointing fingers when you depend on those consequences of logical actions throughout most of your day. And it's very hard to sit in the corner and scream and cry when that you're mad about that specific consequence when you take full advantage of all the rest.
Right. I mean, there's a simple, if you pour gas on the ground and light a match and throw on it, it's going to cause a fire. And so why would we be surprised and angry and upset and say there is no God if a fire occurs when you throw a match?
But the World War II thing, like the Nazis and stuff, that's kind of a different story, right? Because a group of people were, taken down for no consequence of their own. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that they had done obviously to deserve that. So that line of thinking is a little bit different than the consequence that's been taken from a poor action.
Well, although I mean it's just the other side of the coin, right? It's the consequence of someone else's sin, right? Both of those
Simple
exist.
men.
Yeah, a man that God said don't murder each other. A man is sinning and murdering someone else. Like someone is the aggrieved party. Someone is the person that is negatively impacted by the sin. Sin is not always local, right? I'm either sinning against myself and God or sinning against someone else and God. Mm-hmm. And in those cases, like their sin is otherwise impacting someone else, and it's egregious and it's awful, and that's why God hates it. You know what I'm saying? You say, where's God's outrage? It's there.
He is outraged.
He is outraged.
Yeah.
He told you not to do it, and he said, be careful and follow me and stay away from this stuff. And the consequence of like God's people being negatively impacted by the sin of others is rampant. Read the Old Testament. Now, those guys are also brought it on themselves a lot when they like falling away from God. But even following, they were put into slavery. You know what I'm saying? So like somebody's sin, the consequence to that will negatively impact people that did not otherwise bring it on themselves. Let's see. None of Jesus' miracles. What's God spoken? Okay, if we had scientific proof of God's existence, we would talk about the science of God rather than the faith in God.
Now, see, I feel like he's like that's a bit of a stretch, right? Like most scientists say, look, let's throw the data together and see what comes out. And he has already determined the conclusion and is working himself backwards, just as I have done. To be fair, I do the exact same thing. I say that God created the place and he rules and reigns over it, and so I look at that stuff and I work it backwards from there. Like, time makes sense because of this, gravity makes sense because of this, God did this for this reason. Science is the study of why God did something or how God did something. Right. And so me and him are doing the same thing. We're just doing it on two different areas.
Yeah, two worldviews.
Let's see. If we had scientific proof of God's existence, the study of God would be a science. See, those aren't really proofs, though. Those are just what you would call stuff. If we had scientific proof of God's existence, all religious people would be aligning on the God that had been scientifically proven to exist.
No, see, and actually, Jesus spoke to that. Like Jesus spoke to that exact statement when remember when the guy was. He had that beggar outside of his house or whatever, and then finally the beggar went up to heaven and the rich guy went down to hell, right? And he was talking and he's like, just let me go and tell them. They'll believe me about this the heaven and hell setup and whatnot if I go tell them because I'm dead. And that was a parable, right? Yeah, that was a parable. Anyway, the gist of the story.
There's a chasm,
there was a chasm about. Look, there's a space between heaven and hell, and then the earth as well. That there's no crossing it. Right? Once you're down, you're down. Once you're up. That's the deal. And the guy's begging to go back and tell his brothers and say, look, I'm stuck in this thing. You have to believe them when they say that there's a God out there. And the answer was basically, look, if they don't believe if they don't believe it for what it is, the dead guy's not going to change his mind. You know what I'm saying? The ghost from back in the day from your brother is not going to change your mind. And so and man, he said that on another occasion too. And I wish I could think of it. It was when people kept asking for signs and miracles.
Yeah, show me a sign.
Yeah, and Jesus is like, look, if you're not buying this, what do you think the magic show is going to do? You know what I'm saying? People can be faced with fact right to their face and they'll play it off like they don't know. And these are the
same. And that story occurs. Right after he fed everybody, so like he feeds the 5,000, and then he gets in a boat and he leaves, and they follow him, and they want to see more. Like they've seen one. They saw him feed 5,000 plus, right? Because that's just the men. So 5,000 plus he feeds, and then they chase him in a boat, and they say, show us more stuff. There's people waiting. They want to see more stuff. And he's like what? You will not be satisfied. And so this guy's on the GodIsMagic.com is like, if you just show us. Well, it's been done. It's been done, and you're rejecting it. The Bible is not true, written by primitive men. Jesus' miracles were not real. The outside evidence that's extra biblical that validates Jesus as a man, you're also rejecting.
Right, prayer is junk. People who think that the spiritual that Jesus or the Holy Spirit has helped them do anything or inform them of anything, they're crazy and duped. Right, so every turn where you've been given an opportunity to take it for what it is and see where that side is coming from. You've denied it, called it false, and then it's pretty hard to say that something is real when you say that everything that comes out about it is false.
That's not very objective.
No, it's this is all junk.
Like science.
Every single bit of it.
Now he tries to anticipate what our response to such things.
This is always my favorite part.
Okay, understanding the rationalizations. The most common rationalization for the lack of scientific evidence is the God must remain hidden argument.
I don't know anyone that says that.
I've never heard that one.
No.
Nope.
I say that if you don't see God in it somewhere, you have not looked hard enough.
Yeah. God must do whatever he wants to do. Remaining hidden is his prerogative. But to put out through the Holy Spirit inspire scriptures doesn't sound like a hidden man to me. To come to earth in the way that Jesus did does not sound like a hidden thing to me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the only reason that works, or that the rationalization he provides, is for someone who does not believe that Jesus was actually here. So it's like the type of argument he would make, believing half of the things that he thinks.
Yeah.
I don't get it. That's not a good argument.
Not at all.
There we go. So
They're getting worse.
Yeah, he is getting worse. I'm calling proof number 11 like a total fail. Here's the thing: is I think there are some very interesting discussions to be had about where science and God and like biblical accounts of things and like man seen accounts of things and how those go together. I think those are interesting conversations. I think there is a lot to learn about God through those conversations and about how man thinks and sees God. This is a poor representation of it. I think Dan nailed it. I think this particular one is probably embarrassment even to people who don't believe at all.
I would think so.
It's just poorly done.
That's true. I've had better scientific discussions with atheists than that. You know?
Yeah.
Boy, what a disappointment. So I'm going to call proof number 11 not even close. And, okay.
That's too bad.
Do you have some Dear Lives from the Path?
Yeah, I got at least one.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Dear Life from the Path, what's the difference, in your opinion, between gossip and news? I have a friend who tells me things about other friends. I think she does it in order to let me know that she knows something I don't know. Frankly, I think she's invading the privacy of others. She considers it news. I consider it gossip. Ooh.
I think she's right. Motivation. Why are you sharing that?
What if you're just a blunt kind of dude? And you let out a bunch of information you shouldn't, just because that's kind of your style. Nathaniel, do you ever run into that problem?
Nope. I pretty much keep things all tight and sealed up.
I weep in dark corners, and that's it. You know, this one is actually a little tough because it all rests in like in the unseen heart of the person, like the motivation of the person that is trying to share things. Like, and you see this primarily like in the church as prayer requests. You know, please pray for so and so. You know, how much is necessary after the so and so part to get the request out there? Like so and so because they've been sneaking out of their house every night and drinking liquor. I mean liquor. You know, like how much of it is are you sharing with someone? Like, because I actually, it's not like God needs the specifics, right? Like I would say, so and so could use your prayer to be thinking of them and talking to God about them.
Yeah.
They're going through a hard time. They're going through some struggles. Or
We generally don't need that many details. Yeah.
Yeah.
To if we're legitimately wanting to pray for people.
Yeah.
If our concern is for them. I think gossip happens when we start turning the corner and saying, "Hey, look what I know." It's either making me look good or someone else look bad.
Yeah.
Actually, I do that. I do that. Like, you know, someone would say, look, so-and-so needs prayer. I'm like, why? What's going on? You know? And I think I really do care, but I really do want more information because I want to be more in the know and I want to know what's happening. So maybe next time I see him, I could talk about it. And really, that's not what they wanted. They didn't tell me. You know what I'm saying? They didn't discuss it. They didn't call me. They didn't include me in nothing, you know? I'm being a nosy Parker.
Yeah. So,
I got to stay out of that crap. Dang it.
So I mean, I think a good distinction is like never use a second party. If you want to pass on, like if it's appropriate to share that so and so could use prayer, you don't give details. If they want to give details, they can give details. That's between the guy that's having the issue. Unless they say, make sure to tell so and so what I'm going through, which I think is unlikely.
You know, I've been in different prayer groups, different prayer settings, and like you say, prayer time is often an excuse to share gossip. And what happens oftentimes is you spend so much time talking about the prayer, you never really pray. You know, or talking about the person or the situation. Yeah. What I like about, we have a prayer hour that happens right before this show, and random people come, and we've just tried to make a precedence. We don't even talk. We don't tear. Hey, you know what? When you pray about so and so, then I've heard it. You don't have to tell me, and then we're gonna pray. I mean, I know now. I know the prayer request because we just prayed for. You know, Nathaniel has a corn, and you know, it's like, oh, well, now I know because you know, someone prayed for his corn, and that's all I really need to know.
Yeah,
is it true what I've heard about your corn?
Run into a lot of gossip at my job because it's a bunch of middle-aged women, and then me, and they like to gossip and they like to tell me things, and most of the time, I just don't want to hear it. So
how do you stay out of gossip? Like, what if you're on the receiving end of someone who wants to pass information on to you?
I usually walk away.
Okay.
Like when they start they're like, "Did you hear about?" Blah, blah? I go, "Nope," and then walk away.
All right. So what is what's our advice?
This is tough, right? Because it's hard not to lie to get yourself out of that situation. It's hard to be truthful because here's take work for example. Like someone comes up and like, boss man, blah 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 blah. Let's say I think boss man's a jerk too, right? That's actually my actual honest opinion. I'm not a big fan of him, you know.
Yeah.
And so they say blah 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 blah, but he does this, and I'm like, well, you know, he's not really that bad. I think he is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, am I telling a lie just to pacify the thing? Sometimes if you just make a long noise like, yeah.
Usually, they'll come up to you and ask you if you've already heard the information.
I feel like
they'll bait you.
Hey, did you hear about Big Boss Man and what he's doing with Sally? Usually, you can shut it down right there and say, nah, walk away.
It's really none of my business.
Nope.
I'd rather not hear.
Haven't heard that. See ya.
Yeah, see, and I think if you said something like, that's none of my business, I'd rather not know. I think you've just lost every friend you've ever had in that place.
I don't say it's none of my business. I just, nah.
Well,
nah.
maybe
See
you
ya.
don't need catty middle-aged buddies.
Yeah.
Listen, you can't be the light to people that don't want to talk to you at all.
Yeah, you can.
You just tell them a story about yourself and let them spread it.
Yeah.
They could say, did you hear what Boss Man's doing with Sally? And you say,
Did you hear about?
Did you hear what I've done?
Did you hear about what I'm going to do with the lottery winnings?
Hey, here's this is going to go in a bad direction, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So we're talking about catty middle-aged women that gossip. So is that something where it actually, like, you mature into a gossip, or is it because girls are prone to talk and it just turns into gossip because of the circumstances that change in their environment?
I think it's naturally easy, and it's a almost like a temptation of the flesh type of thing. It feels good to talk about people because it makes me look better.
Guys
It's
look
a
at
pride.
half-dressed women, and women talk about other people.
I guess so.
Those are the primary
It's a
issues with the
pride
gender.
thing. Yeah,
I
that's Sally.
Like, I know. I suppose it's a bit of a status thing too. Is to, like, I am a person that knows.
Yeah.
People share things with
I'm
me.
pretty
They
important.
can find in me.
Yeah.
And really, by sharing a piece of gossip, you've just validated that you're the last person people should be sharing things with.
Exactly.
The ironic twist of gossip.
There are certain people I tell nothing to because they tell me everything else. I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be telling you because.
So, Father Tattoo, that's how we end up sitting here late at night with no one else on the chat. Is that type of behavior right there? Is the talking about ladies? It's just what goes on.
Yeah, people don't like it.
Okay, so generally speaking, our advice is if you have to ask the question whether it's news or gossip, it's gossip, and you need to walk away. That's my advice. Like, if you have to question yourself about it, like, you should have to pry. You should have to go talk to the person that's having the issue to get additional detail. Otherwise, it's gossip.
Watch Channel 8 for news.
Yeah. Or now, is it wrong to Google to find more information? See if they've posted it on the Facebook or something. Is that wrong?
I've done that before. I haven't really done that. Like, there's some preachers that I was looking into, you know, and listened to some sermons throughout the week, you know, and I like to Google like their name and then controversy to see what they've been up to, like, to see why someone doesn't like them.
Yeah.
You know, and then I get caught in it and then I got to get out. But, like, I was really just trying to do legitimate research to make sure I wasn't being sucked in by some guy that just appeared to be, you know, putting out God's word and was really some kind of skis ball.
I want you all to close your eyes.
There's some guy. I see that hand. I see that hand.
I see
see that hand.
Thank you.
Sir, I see you in the back.
Eyes closed, no one looking around.
All right. So what was the secular advice?
Hang on. I kept it up this time so we wouldn't have.
I'm not much of a gossip.
I know.
People don't share things with me, and if they do, like, I barely know how to handle them to begin with, let alone pass them out to others.
News. It says secular says news is something that affects everyone. It is supposed to be fact based. Gossip, on the other hand,
That's not true.
Hey, hold on, Ben.
I'm sorry.
Gossip, on the other hand, a form of voyeurism, is often based on conjecture, and its intent is titillation.
News is not for everybody. Hey, it's a boy. Doesn't mean that it should make the world news.
Some guys you bust
It's
out of
news-
his door, no
it's-
doubt.
All right. Next one. What else you got?
Let's
do another one.
Okay.
Hey, you'll be happy to know that Dan Hudson controversy shows nothing.
There's nothing there.
I'm not getting anything.
No Dan Hudson controversy.
Hold on.
Are you gonna check it, Ben?
Yeah, I think he's not telling the truth. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Dear, live from the
Here we
past.
go. Hold on a second. So I did a search for Dan Hudson lies, and here we go. opening item: Dan Hudson banking scam. Start a bank. I knew it.
I'm sorry, Dan. It's not looking good. Dear Life from the Path, my wife and I went out to dinner recently at an upscale restaurant in a hotel in a nearby city. During the dinner, I asked my wife not to scrape breadcrumbs from the tablecloth onto the floor and to please not use her fingernail to pry something from between her teeth. She became upset with me for saying it. What she was doing embarrassed me. It didn't look appropriate. She says I should have waited to tell her. We have agreed to abide by your words.
Sorry, I was slandering Dan on the chat.
Okay.
What was the basis of the conversation?
I wasn't listening either. I was making up lies.
I was listening.
Nathaniel, do you have an opinion on this?
I thought that it's just silly all around. I mean, quite frankly, the lady was scraping breadcrumbs and cleaning herself in the middle of a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
And the husband was getting after her about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to be fancy and wearing my
Wait, okay, wait a minute. She's eating. She's got crumbs all over herself, and she's wiping it off.
No, there's breadcrumbs on the table. She's just brushing them off the table onto
And
the
then
floor.
she's cleaning out her
Cleaning
teeth.
her teeth with her fingernail.
She's accustomed to eating in their trailer, and he's taking her to an upscale place.
Now listen here. Wiping the breadcrumbs off the table is completely appropriate.
I do that all the time.
I think that. Now, picking your teeth with your fingernail, that's gross.
I'm pretty sure I won't be taking. Well, yeah, last time I took Ben to a fancy place, he ate the butter,
That is true.
thinking it was a mint.
I thought it was.
Well, look at this. Like, Ben, get that butter out of your mouth. I can't take you anywhere.
Here's the deal: if you're gonna eat a medallion of butter because you think it's a mint, at the time that you put it in your mouth, you have to commit to it because you can't spit it out all over your face.
At least do the mint at the end of the meal, not before. Well, there's nothing else going on. I'll eat this mint.
I'd already done it. I had to swallow it. Okay, that's a solid point. Maybe my advice is skewed. However,
I will take my wife to the fancy restaurant.
I think wipe.
Here's the thing: if you maybe you should take your wife out more often, and she wouldn't be so used to eating the McDonald's. She might be so used to eating somewhere fancy that maybe you wouldn't have to look down.
Is
on
it
her.
ever appropriate to wipe the breadcrumbs onto the floor?
I do it. Yes. I don't see what's the problem. What is the problem?
They hire people to clean that up.
Well, but how'd you get breadcrumbs there in the first place? They have things like plates and like a bread plate.
It's that It's probably that French hard crusty bread.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It's probably the fancy bread.
They make it in such a way that you don't have to get it on the table. You can get it.
It's
on
fancy
the
bread.
No, I've never had a situation where I've spilt no breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
Breadcrumbs.
I'm pretty sloppy.
They're called crumbs. They're crumbly. That's the definition of them.
But then you can brush it into your hand and put it on the plate. You don't have to put it on the
Oh yeah, okay. So now you're just some kind of low rent cheese ball. You're just secret about it. At least this lady's got the stones to wipe it off and call it what it is.
You can brush it to the next person.
I
Look at that.
I constantly clean our table when we go out to eat, and I will put that stuff wherever it has to go that is not on in front of me. I don't if I'm picking your teeth with your fingernails unless you're doing a huge smile and doing it. But if you're like sneaking it in there, I don't see any problem.
I was going to invite you guys to the Embassy Club next week, and now I see I will not.
That's a good idea. We're busy.
Nathaniel, he's in.
We're playing kick the can. We can't make it.
I
Ben?
got me my pocket knife. I got to clean my teeth.
So here's the deal: if you could do it inconspicuously, I don't have a problem with those breadcrumbs. The picking of teeth seems really that's a little ghetto for me.
I think.
Well, not for me, but for her, I think she should be careful.
Yeah, he needs to not take her to a fancy restaurant until she learns the etiquette, and then why be upset about it? Just don't go. To those
You
places.
know that's gonna go well, hon. We're not going out again until you learn
You don't
to
have to tell her
behave
that.
yourself.
She's obviously not comfortable at them. I mean,
She probably feels just fine. It's you that have made her uncomfortable with your
Yeah.
uptight ways.
Quit being so uptight, guy.
Who cares? First of all, if you don't go to an uptight restaurant very often, what do you care? Embarrass yourself, eat the food,
Yeah.
pay the money, and leave. I don't see the big deal. It's not like you're a regular.
Yeah.
Why are you so worried about what everyone thinks about you in this restaurant?
Winston, the usual.
Just enjoy yourself. You know?
Quite.
Swirl the brandy, pick your teeth with a toothpick, eat the club sandwich, and call it a night. I don't see the big deal.
When you ordered the club sandwich, do you show your member card? I thought it was pretty good.
How much do friends cost, Nathaniel?
Well,
You have to know.
they're about, it's usually runs on an hourly basis.
I have to get them 2 weeks at a time for the good friends.
I'll take Roger. He should like jokes.
Let's see. Secular advice was, as long as you couldn't be overheard, there was nothing wrong with you saying it. In an upscale restaurant, the server is supposed to remove crumbs from the table, not the diner. And if there was food,
Whoa. Hold on a second. I hate to interrupt the advice, but is that true? Like they come by and they do a little whisk broom and clean up the crumbs from your table?
Dan, you go to fancy places.
I was busy typing about the French. What would you say?
Okay, Dan, here's the deal. everything apart from the main show is auxiliary. You know what I'm saying? Extra parts to the show.
Sometimes I
but we
get
do
caught
need
up
to
in the
try to
auxiliary.
keep paying attention to the main part of the show, so
Are
the
you gossiping
auxiliary
about me?
can continue. It sounded more like a confrontation to me, but you take it however you want.
I think you're talking about me.
He says on an upscale restaurant, the waiter comes by and sweeps the crumbs away from your table.
Oh, sure.
Well, then what?
Where do you eat, Dan? I've never been to a restaurant that does this.
You've never been to the
Even the
Wendy's?
Red Lobster, I got to clean my own stuff.
Yeah.
They have crawdads walking around the floor. You know what?
That place is high.
I like that
That's
place.
uptown.
It's fluting.
I wouldn't call it uptown, but I do like it.
All right. All right. Okay, continue. Sorry.
I've never been to a Red Lobster, just to let you know.
Okay, here we go. No, that one's heavy. I don't think so. I don't. I'm sorry, I didn't have another one prepared.
Okay, well, here, let's hit the... so we needed 2 proofs today. We got through proof number 11 from GodIsImaginary.com. Let's look at proof number 12. Okay, here we go. Proof number 12 that God is imaginary from GodIsImaginary.com. It's titled See the Magic. I'm sure this is going to be awesome. When you look at different religions, they usually contain magic. For example, the Mormon religion contains the magical golden plates, the magical angel, the magical seer stones, the magical ascension of the plates into heaven. The Muslim faith contains the magical angel, the magical flying horse, the magical voices, the magical prophet. The Christian faith contains the magical insemination. I feel like that's a misrepresentation. The magical star, the magical dreams, the magical miracles, the magical resurrection, the magical ascension, and so on. The presence of magic is a clear marker for imaginary. For example, how do we know that Santa is imaginary? I've seen the Santa example before in proof number 7.
Okay, here's what happened. His parents told him there was no Santa at 3, and he's been mad ever since. Ever since.
Probably some Christian told him.
It's a Christian who says it's a Satan man who gives presents to everyone.
He went to church one day, and the preacher said, "There's Satan."
They just spell it wrong.
Satan Claus.
Regardless of the fact that Santa existed long before, like, not translated into English. But no, it's definitely designed as Satan. It sounds like Satan in every language. Presence of magic is a clear marker for imaginary. For example, how do we know that Santa is imaginary? Because, among other things, he has 8 magical flying reindeer. How do we know that Jack and the Beanstalk is a fairy tale? Because the story contains magical seeds. In the same way, how do we know that God is make-believe? Because God is surrounded by magic. I'm interested in this guy's perspective on aliens. Just a thought. According to believers, God is an all-powerful being who has the divine magical power to do anything.
I don't ever describe it as magic, but go ahead.
How do we know that this belief is a fairy tale? One way to know is to try to invoke God's magical power. The God Genie. That's my commentary. For example, it's described in Proof 1. The Bible tells us in many places that God answers prayers. However, whenever we try to pray, we notice that nothing happens. Disagree. That tells us that God is completely imaginary. The magical powers, because God does not bow to my will, he does not exist. Another way to know is to read the stories of magical biblical events. There is the magical flood, yet we know with certainty that the flood never happened.
No, he's just attaching the word magic to things.
Throwing out science again. Obviously a flood
That's
happened.
like me saying I walked in the magical door, sat down at this magical table, and I talked to some magical fellas.
And I'm imaginary. I didn't happen because everything I said was magic.
I'm just attaching the word magic to
That
stuff.
sounds like a Beatles song.
Now, here's the deal. It's like I've heard people make the case that the existence of a flood in the proportion that the Bible describes was not caused by God, that there were natural circumstances that caused it. It was part of glaciers melting, that kind of thing. I can entertain that type of discussion, okay? But that the flood never happened because I put the word magical in front of it seems just a little bit ignorant.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, actually, but not so much ignorant as lazy. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to make an assertion, at least back it up with something.
Here we go. There are the magical miracles of Jesus, but, and here he goes in parentheticals, predictably, none of these miracles left behind any tangible evidence.
Except for healed people and people that are no longer dead. Continue.
Right, and extra biblical sources that describe Jesus. Jesus the magician.
As a magic man.
Oh boy. There is the magical resurrection, yet there is zero evidence that it ever occurred and no reason to believe it. God is identical to leprechauns, mermaids, and Santa. God is a magical fairy tale creature. The magic surrounding God tells us that God is imaginary. He's really taking a dive on these 11 and 12.
Okay, so I feel real bad for him because when he walks up to heaven and then he's standing at the gates, he's looking at Jesus and Jesus goes, "Mermaids, huh?" Mermaids.
You want to see a magic trick?
Remember that chasm you didn't believe in?
Oh, man.
That's rough.
Like, in all seriousness, like, we really should be praying for this guy. Because, like, he's got... For a guy who thinks he's talking in rational discussions, he just has a God tick on his shoulder. And he's not even thinking in the realm of which he feels he is justified in thinking. He's not speaking in rational terms. He's bullying an argument on false assumptions. He's not laying any type of specific groundwork. He's just going to town.
Yeah.
That's true. You have a much deeper discussion with people who, have some like you get this from people who have like sociology degrees or are strict followers of evolution or whatever. Like there are people that have done some research, have some things to say, have some points where every once in a while you go, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna have to do some research into this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll put you to a point up against a wall, and you'll have to admit that maybe you don't have every answer in the world, but you can get one. And this is not the case at all. Like I mean,
It's just an angry guy who's been upset.
yeah, it's like an entry-level lawyer
Yeah.
who has taken all the cheap tricks that he's seen in the courtroom during the school projects, and then he's trying to all use them all at once. Like when you start saying everything's magical, that's a magic stick, a magic chair.
Yeah, it's like using discrimination, like intolerance, racism, things like that in everything. Like I have a legitimate argument, but as opposed to using that, I'm just going to use the buzzword that I think is going to cause some sort of scrutiny upon.
Throwing the word
Yeah,
bomb.
you were speeding black style. An extra 10 years. That's exactly what he's doing. He's taking like a common buzzword, a common, something that has a lot of connotation to it, like the word magic, frankly, and just stick it in front of everything so it sounds more and more ridiculous.
I think this was some high school dude's like senior project. I don't think it's legitimate. It's not an adult.
Oh, does he?
He doesn't write nor think like an adult.
I don't know, Dan. You might be giving adults too much credit.
No, there are a lot of magical adults. That's true.
Look at leprechauns. A grown man leprechaun.
Let's talk about unicorns.
They're as magical as they get.
Maybe he's just intoxicated.
Okay. So anyway, I think we're gonna call that 12 and 12. God still stands. God is imaginary man. Really, like in all honesty, could use some prayer. Something that he is blind. He's acting like a man, as you would. I mean, generally speaking, as you would expect. Who, if you don't believe in God, this is the worldview that you're going to have.
Ben, what has he done? I'd like to pray for him specifically.
Could you give us some more detail?
What about him is wrong?
What about him and Sally? The word's around.
So anyway, there's number 12 on 12 weeks of or 11 weeks of GodIsImaginary.com. There's 50. He's got another 30.
Okay, randomly pick one. Pick 27.
That seems unrandom when you gave a specific number.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. You want to go through it right now,
No.
or just give you the heads up?
Yeah, give me the heads up.
Okay, proof number 27 is think about life after death.
Read the first paragraph.
If you are a Christian, then Jesus promises that your soul will have everlasting life in John 3:16. For God so loved the world, blah 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 blah. All that you have to do is believe in Jesus, and your soul gets to go to heaven. But have you really thought about your soul? Have you ever thought about how the afterlife would work? Which life forms get an afterlife, and which do not? That doesn't seem much of a quandary.
Because I can't comprehend it, it must be imaginary.
Well, here's this example. Start with bacterium. Does it have a soul? What about mosquitoes? What about mice?
Boy, I hope there's not a bunch of bacteria up there. That would be real awkward.
Oh, man, what are the odds? Here we go. Random paragraph in that same one. Think back to when you were a kid and you realized that Santa was imaginary.
You pegged him.
He's got a Santa complex.
I'm telling you, he's had a problem ever since he was little. That's what happened.
Okay, here's what's going to I'm going to pick. I'm going to look at number 40.
I don't get trigonometry. So I can't even say it, so therefore it's not real.
It doesn't go on. It doesn't happen that way. I'm going to pick number 40, and if Santa is in it, Nathaniel owes you $5.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Number 40. Understanding Christian motivations. No scientific evidence indicating God. Blah 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 blah. Hold on. I'm looking.
Can you just search Santa?
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems like it's going to be easier, doesn't it? No, Santa didn't make it.
Oh,
You lucked out totally there. All right. So anyway, there we're through it. Next week we're going to be on number 13. Proof number 13. Take a look at slavery.
Ooh. This is a good one. This is a legitimate topic, and there's good biblical background.
I hope that he asks. I hope that he approaches this in a way that makes the conversation a worthwhile conversation, because I think in certain aspects it is. But my guess is he's going to let me down, so that we don't have a good conversation about it, and he ends up looking like a goon.
He'll need to listen to Jared's sermon from last Sunday.
Indeed,
It'll clear him out.
So anyway, we'll hit that next week. Proof number 13. Take a look at slavery. Hey, just a reminder. So we're getting ready. We're preparing for this Friday and Saturday for the Spirit Midwest Music Festival. You can find more information about the festival at spiritmidwest.com. We'll be broadcasting live from the festival. Oh wait, It depends. We're still waiting on that internet connection. So here's the deal.
I thought it was a done deal. It's not going to happen.
No, it's still we're looking to get a 4G from comp from US Cellular. Al's working on it.
Is 4G fast enough?
Yeah, it should be. We should be able to handle it if we get it out there. So anyway, we might be broadcasting live from the festival. Either way, we'll be there. And so if we can't do the live internet broadcast, what we'll do is we'll basically do it as if we're doing a broadcast, and then we'll play the full series of the festival over the next few weeks. We'll give you the schedule as far as when we're going to play the clips, and you can watch it in 2-hour increments.
Okay.
And that's a lot of coverage because it goes from 4 to 11, and that's if we cut it off before DJ Josiah Freeborn fires up for the Christian rave at 11 o'clock.
I'll go if you go.
So here we go. 3 stages. Okay, Insider stage. That's a hard rock, a pop, punk rock core stage, rap stuff like that. Okay, that's the metal stage. Insider stage, inside air conditioning, sweetness. They got the acoustic stage. It's in the woods. It's called the wood stage. So there's a little bit of a space back behind where there's a group of trees, and there's gonna be guys performing acoustically out in the woods.
Bring your coffee.
Can we beat drums?
Not near the axe. They don't like that.
Should we sell coffee?
There's a guy selling coffee there.
Yeah, but not as cheap as us. Our coffee's terrible.
That's true. We got a bunch of pots laying around.
See?
Right. Get the pair of buns and let's take them out. Okay.
I like it.
Thirdly, the main stage. The main stage is just to the west of the Insider stage. That's when you got your primary acts. Manic Drive is going to be there. The museum is going to be there. Todd Agnew's the closing act on the first night. Willett's out there. Willett just was played at Pathway this week and did an awesome job.
Outstanding.
And they're gonna be there. Southbound Fearing, we saw a little bit of them last year. Shasta Boulevard, I saw they were on the rock stage last year. They're awesome. They're kind of got some blues infringed stuff. It was good. And so anyway, we'll be out, and you can come sit down with us. You want to sit on the couch? We'll have the green couch out there.
We'll bring a couch.
Yeah, we're gonna bring a couch. Nathaniel's gonna be grilling stuff, and he's gonna be painting. He's gonna do some spray paint can stuff. It's gonna be pretty sweet.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, come check it out. It's absolutely free. Okay, 2 days. Friday starts at 4 o'clock. Saturday it runs from 10 a.m. all the way through. When the Christian rave stops, I think it's around 12 a.m.
Wait, it stops at 12?
That's when our party begins.
I think
in the
one,
camper.
or 1 maybe.
I thought the rave started at like 2.
No, it starts at I think it starts at 11.
I
11 p.m.
I can't rave at 11.
Nah.
Aren't we doing Christian disco in the camper?
That
when the rave's all over?
Yeah, you bet it.
I gotta wear my white pants.
Okay, bad.
I bought my white pants at the Target.
Unfortunately, Dan's not going to be there.
I thought you said
I've been working
I
on
thought
my
you said you
moves.
didn't have dance pants.
Well, I lied.
My dad's pants are sans pants.
Have you heard about Dan's dance pants?
They better not be imaginary or magical. They better be real pants.
They're my magic pants.
I ain't kidding.
So we'll be interviewing the Vans. We'll be showing you some of the performances from the stage. Here's the deal: our broadcast is not going to be as stellar as being there. So I would suggest coming out, checking it out, completely free. Get some folks out there, support these guys that are trying to live for Christ and are out there performing to do that, to bring God's message out to the people. And I love the free aspect. They're going to have some good food there. The barbecue guy's always excellent. And we're going to be hunting around. And you can camp. Camping's free. Bring a tent.
Camping's free.
Nathaniel's also not coming. Mike, you want to test your luck?
I think it should be fun.
Whatever. You guys just aren't getting pumped like I am.
You'll never do without me. So anyway, here's a. Actually, I'll show you this. Here's a quick taste of Nathaniel, in case you've not met him before. Here's his artistic example. Here you go.
Alright, I need everybody in here today. Just do one thing for me. I need you all to close your eyes. I need you to put your head down. Alright, everybody in here is heads down. And everybody's eyes are closed. Now I need to ask you one question. Are you ready to watch the live from the past? Because if you are, I need you to raise your hand up. No one's going to see you. No, everybody's got their heads down. Everybody's got their eyes closed. So raise it up nice and slow. Nobody's going to feel you next to you. Oh, I see you, sir. Sir in the back. Oh, madam, I see you. Raise that up high. Raise that up high. Sir in the red, I see your shirt. I see you. Raising your hand up. Oh, I see you. Yes, thank you very much. I see you. Sir, I see you. Oh, you over there. Close your eyes. I want you looking around. Seeing the guy in the red shirt not raising his hand. Oh, thank you, guy in the red shirt. Raising your hand now. Yeah. Oh, I see you.
There it is. So Dan couldn't hear that, but here's what it was. It was It was the close your eyes and put your head down and raise your hand.
The invitational.
Yes.
Yes.
You are a pastor, correct?
Correct.
I'm assuming that you've done like youth things and stuff like that before, conferences.
Yeah, I've been to them.
Have you ever done that before? Have you ever pulled that one out of the bag? Put your head down.
No.
Close your eyes. Just raise your hand right now. No one's gonna see you.
Yeah, I don't.
There's a video on YouTube where it's showing a youth pastor who goes, "Everybody, put your head down, and I need the fellas in here to stand up who deal with sexual sin." And then it cut like 3 dudes stand up, and then he goes, "Now everybody, look up. These are the dudes who need your prayers."
Oh no!
That's terrible.
And he's like,
Don't let your daughters date these guys.
Our youth group is called the Flames. I just want a bunch of flamers just running around their schools.
Is this the same guy?
Yeah,
Oh man.
Is he on purpose or is he a funny man?
he's a funny man.
Okay.
Where does he come down on the Chick-fil-A controversy?
Well, I don't know. I
I don't even know why that's a deal. I
Yeah.
just don't even know why it's a deal. You see?
It's silly.
Okay.
glad we really hashed that one out.
Yeah, okay. Do whatever you want to do. Try to impact people positively for Jesus. All right. That's a.
Call them flamers.
I suppose that's my general comment. Like, take action that don't just to validate your stance as a Christian. God is well aware. But are you taking action that otherwise positively impact your ability to witness to people for Christ?
Have you heard that song by New World Son called "Learning to Be the Light"?
Mm-mm.
There's there's words in there like it's starting to get some tick around the Christian radio, but like one of the words in the verse is that nobody wants to listen to a list of things they shouldn't do. So I light a candle. Let's see. So I have a city on a hill and I light a candle on the sill. I'm learning to be the light. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole point is like no one's gonna listen to you when you act like that. So you just learn to be the light. You shine for Jesus. That's it. You put your candle on the sill on a city on a hill, and you call it what it is, and stop walking around telling everybody how much they suck.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
really, as soon as they read the Bible, they're figured out. They figure out you're no good. You figure out Jesus help you out, and you got a Savior that you don't deserve and grace that you have no business having, and then it makes it a whole lot easier to explain that to somebody else without waving your finger at them.
Well, we're so busy trying to make people act like Christ followers when they're not. So why would we? I mean, they're acting like they don't believe in Jesus because they don't.
Yeah.
So those teachings are for us.
Yeah.
Not for non-believers.
Yeah, tone
First,
down
they need
the
Jesus.
Tone down
Well,
the
then let
behavior
Jesus worry about it.
modification
Yeah.
and try for the heart. You know.
Well, so now here's the deal. Like, and that's where I've kind of landed on, like thinking about the Chick-fil-A stuff. I was like, I don't know that actually, you might validate yourself in a group of 50 other Christians. Go, yeah, we do love Christ. That's why we eat this chicken sandwich and we love it. And like,
Pass me my Stein.
so
Why are you doing that?
I don't think that I'm not sure that I like to give my money to people that I think will use it appropriately if I'm going to eat somewhere anyway, right? But like generally speaking, I don't think this does much of anything. In fact, it probably causes a detriment to trying to further Christ's message to people that are just going to be offended by you having taken the action. However, one of the things I've been thinking about over the past 24, 48 hours is how do you without people who don't know Christ are not going to act like Christians, right? But
Right.
how do people come to find Christ and know and recognize that they need a Savior if they don't acknowledge the things that they're being saved from?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and that's really the thing for me is because like my first reaction would be to like you're the guy that points out the sin is like, well, you're acting outside of what Christ wants you to act. Well, of course you are. I don't love Jesus. That's why I act.
Yeah,
like that.
why would I act
And that
that
makes
way?
sense, right?
Yeah.
But like if you were completely silent on what is sin and what is not, how do people recognize that they need a Savior? Like, why ever reach out to Jesus if they feel like they don't need to be saved at all?
Yeah, but I don't see it going down like that. Like the times that I generally get into these conversations, they ask why I didn't do something, or they ask why I'm they'll say, well, you never blah 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 blah. Or
They're just asking why your life is different than theirs.
Yes, yeah, and not in a negative way. They're just like, how come we don't ever see you blah 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 or whatever,
Yeah.
And it's always just a good time to say, look, it's just not. I don't think that's what
Well, but
God's
okay.
had me doing.
All right, but in this particular example, if I say like, depending on what the area is, like you could think, alcohol abuse or bad language or whatever. But if I say, hey man, I never see you have sex with a man, you know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that are things that are not going to be otherwise show in your life.
Well, that would be weird.
Hey Mike, I noticed that you don't, with other guys.
Yeah, and I would say,
tell me about your Jesus.
I appreciate you not noticing that.
now, here's the only
I
thing.
feel like I should lock my door.
Now, here's the only thing. I don't know that you could find a person. Well, besides that, there are some things in the church where they're acting like certain things are okay that they're not.
Yeah, we're not doing him any favors. That's for sure.
But the one thing I would say is like I find it hard to believe that there's anyone who is living that lifestyle that says I have no idea what God thinks about this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like they don't understand. It's a revelation to them that I have a belief that says that lifestyle is not following what God wants you to do. You know. So I don't know. I think your first, before you react to something like that, especially things that are broad and that are very public and things that the public is particularly sensitive to. I think you need to be praying before you do anything. Like make sure you're taking actions that otherwise bring glory to Christ,
right?
And draw and can help not eliminate your ability to draw them in.
I think though part of the conflict is that we have this huge segment of the population that has tried to say it is God ordained activity.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the teaching goes back and forth, and we don't communicate it well, so people interpret it as God hates me, or you hate me, the church hates me, they're hateful bigots, blah, 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 blah. And that just means we're not communicating well, or they're not hearing well,
Which is possible, just like if we look at the God is imaginary guy, I mean, he refuses to hear things that pervert his view of God is imaginary, he's a magical man, things like that,
Well, and some of it is just people overstepping their ground, right? Like, you hear that stupid argument about, same-sex marriage, and it's just a word, you know what I'm saying? It's a biblical term that you're attempting to steal and use for your own purposes. And I get it. You want it to be included in the connotations that come along with marriage. I get that. You don't want it to be called something different because you don't want it to be viewed as something different. I know where their heart's coming from, but basically what's happening, it's like me taking an ancient Buddhist way of living, and then I say, that's what I do, and I don't follow that way of living at all. That's just what I do, and now I've taken the name of it, called it something completely different, and say this is the new definition because this is what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like
I meditate, and what I'm really doing is fishing.
Right. My meditation is running in place and watching Taibo.
Yeah.
That's meditation.
It's like,
for me. It's different for everybody, but that's what it is for me.
but it's not Eastern.
But it's not. It's not meditation. I've just taken
Call it what you want. But
you know what I'm saying? And so some of it is that it's a hubris. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain amount of pride that says I can take whatever I want, call it whatever I want, because it rightfully should belong to me just as much as it belongs to you, whether it does or not. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's a certain point of view to come from. That's hard to talk to.
Yeah. You've been listening to Live from the Path. Thanks for checking us out. We're here every Monday night from 10 to 11 p.m. Make sure you head out to that Spirit Midwest Music Festival. Find more information at the festival, about the festival, at spiritmidwest.com. They can still use some volunteers if you're open for that, but it is absolutely free. Take the family, take the youth group, take the homeless man, buy him a burger, take him out to the Spirit Midwest Festival. It's in St. Charles, and Friday starting at 4 o'clock. It goes all day Friday, and then all day Saturday. And come visit us. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to be doing a broadcast. Come sit on the green couch, and we'll hang out with you. Thanks for listening to Live from the Path.
Crazy for you. You They say your love is like a hurricane, is that a fact? They say your love is like a ball and chain, and that won't crack. Baby, if that's true, I better run away from you. They say your love is like a crazy train off the track. They say your love is like a kamikaze plane attack. Ooh, they tell me you steal, you